Hello everyone and welcome back to another video from our channel, Immortal News. Today we invite you to join us for a gentle and heartfelt remembrance. We'll be honoring the American stars we've recently lost, as well as beloved figures from around the world whose lives touched us in ways we may not even realize until they're gone. These are the stories of people who made us smile, inspired us, and left behind memories that continue to echo in our hearts. Before we begin, if you could take a moment to give this video a like, it would truly mean a lot. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tributes and keeping their legacies alive. Thank you for being here with us. Now let's begin. They say Bob Weir moved through life like a man driftin' and dreamin', never too worried about where the road would lead, only that the music kept going. Bob Weir was born on October 16, 1947, and in 1963, as a teenager in Palo Alto, California, he met Jerry Garcia. 2 years later, in 1965, at just 17, he helped found the Grateful Dead in San Francisco. From that moment on, he became a guiding force in American music. As the band's rhythm guitarist, vocalist, and one of its primary frontmen, Bob developed a style that made him one of rock's most distinctive rhythm guitarists. He helped shape psychedelic rock, the jam band movement, and a fusion of blues and folk that would echo through generations. He wrote or co-wrote beloved Grateful Dead songs like Sugar Magnolia, Jack Straw, Playing in the Band, Mexicali Blues, and One More Saturday Night, and he took the lead vocal on Truckin'. His first solo album, Ace, arrived in 1972, and decades later his album Blue Mountain reached number 14 on the Billboard 200 in 2016. Bob never stopped exploring. After Jerry Garcia's death in 1995, he kept the spirit of the music alive through bands like The Other Ones, Rat Dog, The Dead, and later Dead & Company, which he co-founded in 2015. Dead & Company played more than 350 shows over a decade, including a Las Vegas residency that sold 477,000 tickets across 48 shows and grossed nearly $200 million. In June 2025, he debuted at London's Royal Albert Hall with the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra, and that August anniversary shows in Golden Gate Park drew around 180,000 people. Along the way, Bob was recognized as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, a Kennedy Center Honors recipient in 2024, the first ever Les Paul Spirit Award honoree, an Americana Honors and Awards Lifetime Achievement recipient, and part of the MusiCares Person of the Year celebration in 2025 with the Grateful Dead. Bob Weir died in January 2026, at age 78, after a cancer diagnosis in July 2025 and underlying lung issues. He passed peacefully, surrounded by loved ones. After his death, the only surviving original member of the band is drummer Bill Kreutzmann. For over 60 years, Bob Weir took to the road as a guitarist, singer, songwriter, and storyteller, a pioneer of live performance and American counterculture. His songs, his sound, and his spirit will keep on playing wherever people gather to share music and remember. Tributes to Bob Weir. Those who listened to him over the years often said that his words felt like a steady hand on a friend's shoulder. Michael Edward Reagan was born as John Flower on March 18, 1945 in Los Angeles, California. He was adopted by Ronald Reagan and his then-wife, actress Jane Wyman, and grew up as part of a family that would become central to American public life. As the eldest son of Ronald Reagan, Michael's life was shaped early by the worlds of film, public service, and later, national politics. In his own journey, Michael stepped into the spotlight not as an actor or office holder, but as a communicator. Over the years, he built a presence in media and commentary, speaking and writing about the issues and experiences that mattered to him. His work allowed him to share his perspective on family, history, and the legacy of the era in which he was raised. Michael was also a husband and father, roles that mattered deeply alongside his public life. His connection to the Reagan family story gave him a unique vantage point on the intersection of private love and very public responsibility, and he often reflected on that balance. Those who followed his life came to know him as someone who carried his family name with a sense of duty and continuity. He represented a living link to a chapter of American history that shaped the late 20th century, while also standing as a person with his own convictions, his own voice, and his own path. As we remember Michael Reagan today, we honor a man who grew from a Hollywood childhood into a thoughtful public figure, who tried to use his platform to share what he believed and what he had learned. His story is woven into the broader story of a family and of a country in a transformative time. May his memory bring comfort to those who loved him, and may the stories he shared continue to live on in the hearts of all who listened. Tributes to Michael Reagan. Those who worked alongside him often said that Ahn Sung-Ki brought a calm, steady light to every set he ever stepped on. Ahn Sung-Ki was a cherished figure in Korean cinema, a performer whose presence made stories feel honest, human, and emotionally grounded. Across his long career, he became known for the depth and warmth he brought to his roles, connecting with audiences through characters that felt real and relatable. He was often celebrated as a key figure in the development of modern Korean film, helping bridge older generations of moviegoers with new ones. His work showed how powerful quiet emotion could be on screen, and how a single thoughtful performance could stay with people for years. Colleagues admired his professionalism and his humility. Even as his reputation grew, he was remembered as someone who respected everyone on set, from fellow actors to crew members behind the camera. That gentle leadership made him not just a star, but a mentor and a role model. For many fans, Ahn Sung-Ki's films marked important moments in their own lives: a movie watched with family, a performance that brought comfort during a hard time, a character that seemed to understand what they were feeling. His body of work became part of the emotional memory of a whole generation. Though he is no longer with us, the stories he helped bring to life remain. His performances continue to live on screen, ready to be discovered by new viewers and revisited by those who have loved his work for years. In that way, his quiet strength and artistry continue to speak. To his family, friends, colleagues, and admirers around the world, we join you in honoring a life spent giving so much heart to the craft of storytelling. Tributes to Ahn Sung-Ki. Those who loved his films often say that Béla Tarr didn't just tell stories on screen. He invited us to step inside time itself and sit with it for a while. Béla Tarr was born on 21st July 1955, and across his life he became known to the world as a Hungarian film director and screenwriter. Over the course of a career that ran from 1979 to 2011, he directed 9 feature films, each one a patient, carefully composed work that asked audiences to look a little closer and feel a little deeper. He passed away on 6th January 2026 at the age of 70, after a long and serious illness. News of his death was felt across the global film community, because even though his movies were never loud in the commercial sense, they spoke in a language that many filmmakers and film lovers understood by heart. Among his most notable works are Satan Tango from 1994, Bergmeister Harmonies from 2000, and The Turin Horse from 2011. These films became touchstones for people who believed that cinema could move slowly, breathe fully, and reveal the struggles and quiet dignity of everyday lives. For many, watching a Béla Tarr film meant entering a black and white world of long takes, harsh weather, and fragile human hope, and coming out somehow changed. Across 9 features, he built a body of work that felt consistent and deeply personal. He showed that a director could be patient, uncompromising, and honest, trusting audiences to meet the film halfway. Over the decades, countless younger filmmakers looked to his example when trying to find their own voice. Today, fans and colleagues remember a Hungarian artist who expanded what cinema could be, and who treated film not just as entertainment, but as a serious conversation with the human soul. His movies remain for anyone willing to sit with them, to listen, and to look. Though Béla Tarr is no longer with us, the worlds he created continue to live each time someone presses play and surrenders to their quiet, relentless power. Tributes to Béla Tarr. Those who watched his work over the years often say T.K. Carter had a way of making you feel like you knew him, even if you only met him through a screen. T.K. Carter was born on December 18, 1956, in New York City. His journey would lead him to become an American actor, comedian, and voice actor who left a gentle yet lasting mark on film and television. He became widely known for roles that fans still talk about with affection. In the horror classic The Thing, he played Knowles, and in the film Southern Comfort, he appeared as Cribbs. On television, audiences welcomed him into their homes through his work as Michael Mike Fulton on the sitcom Punky Brewster, and as Milo Williams on the series Good Times. His voice also carried into animation, where he brought the character Ralph to life in the animated television series Gravedale High. Across these roles, T.K. Carter showed a gift for blending humor and heart, often bringing warmth and humanity to every character he played. Whether he was in a tense, dramatic scene or a light-hearted sitcom moment, he had a presence that drew people in and made them care about the story. Over time, his work became part of the shared memories of many families, from late-night movie marathons to after-school reruns. For fans, his performances were often tied to specific moments in their own lives, making his career not just a list of credits, but a collection of personal memories. T.K. Carter died on January 10, 2025, at the age of 69. Though he is no longer with us, the characters he brought to life continue to speak for him. They remind us of his talent, his versatility, and the quiet joy he could bring to a scene with just a look, a line, or a laugh. For those who grew up watching him, and for those discovering his work today, T.K. Carter's legacy lives on in the stories he helped tell, and the comfort his performances still bring. Tributes to T.K. Carter. There was a quiet grace to the way Marcia Rodd lived her life on stage and on screen, always letting the work shine brighter than herself. Marcia Rodd was born on July 8, 1938, an American actress, singer, and director whose life became deeply intertwined with the worlds of theater, film, and television. After studying theater at Northwestern University, she moved to New York City, determined to build a life in the arts. There, she began shaping a career that would span decades and touch many audiences. She made her Broadway debut in late 1964 as a replacement in Oh, What a Lovely War, the first step in a long and respected stage journey. Off-Broadway, She appeared in The Mad Show in 1966 and returned to Broadway for Love in E-flat in 1967. In 1969, she originated the role of Bobby in Neil Simon's Last of the Red Hot Lovers, later performing in its Broadway run opposite Linda Lavin, Doris Roberts, and James Coco from December 1969 to March 1971. Marcia was perhaps best known on Broadway for her performance as Maude in the musical Shelter, which earned her a Tony Award nomination for Best Actress in a Musical in 1973. She continued to embrace challenging work, starring in the Broadway musical Barbary Coast in 1978, and later touring nationally as Goldie in Fiddler on the Roof in 1989 and 1994. She also worked as a stage director, further deepening her connection to the theater community. Her talents extended naturally to the screen. Marcia's film debut came in Alan Arkin's Little Murders in 1971, where she played Patsy Newquist. In 1977, she gave an acclaimed performance as Portland Angel in Jonathan Demme's Handle with Care, earning a National Society of Film Critics Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Earlier in 1964, television audiences saw her as Dorothy Gale in a televised production of The Wizard of Oz. Across television, she appeared in over 40 shows, including memorable turns on series such as Maz H., Maude, All in the Family, Murder, She Wrote, Home Improvement, and Grey's Anatomy. She worked steadily from the 1970s through 2020, embodying the spirit of a true working actor, a Broadway actress, a television performer, and a collaborator from the era often called the Golden Age of television. Marcia Rodd died on December 27, 2025 at age 87, leaving behind a body of work that reflects dedication, versatility, and heart. Her performances, from intimate stages to national tours and television screens, remain a gentle reminder of how deeply one artist can enrich the stories we share. Tributes to Marcia Rodd. There was a quiet grace to Roger Lawrence Ewing's journey, the kind that touched people through both the stories he helped tell and the images he chose to capture. Roger Lawrence Ewing was born January 12, 1942, in Los Angeles, California. As a teenager, he was a fan of the Western series Gunsmoke, never knowing that one day he would ride into that very world as part of its cast. His acting career began in 1964 with an uncredited appearance in the film Ensign Pulver. Through the 1960s, he guest starred on a variety of television shows, including Bewitched, Rawhide, The Bing Crosby Show, The Farmer's Daughter, The 11th Hour, Room 222, Death Valley Days, and The Mothers-in-Law. He also appeared in the film None But the Brave as Peter Svensholm. In 1965, a guest appearance on Gunsmoke impressed the producers and changed his life. Roger joined the regular cast as Deputy Marshal and Handyman Clayton Thaddeus "Thad" Greenwood. Across 65 episodes from 1965 to 1967, he became a familiar face in one of television's landmark westerns. His character was even created with the potential to step in for series star James Arness during a contract dispute, a sign of the trust the producers placed in him and his talent. After leaving Gunsmoke, Roger continued his screen work with roles such as Donald Maxwell in Smith, and Nelson in the 1972 film Play It As It Lays, which became his final acting credit. That same year, he chose a different kind of storytelling and retired from acting to pursue photography professionally. As a photographer, Roger's work took him around the world, across Europe, Russia, Mexico, and the South Pacific. He built a second career behind the camera, framing life one image at a time. Away from the spotlight, he was also active in local politics, bringing the same thoughtful presence to his community that he once brought to his roles. Standing 6'5", 1.97 m, he was physically striking, yet his life was marked by steady, deliberate choices. Roger Ewing died December 18, 2025, in Morro Bay, California, at age 83. He leaves behind memories of a high school fan who stepped into his favorite show, then stepped away to see the world through a lens of his own making. Tributes to Roger Ewing. Those who shared the ice in the locker room with Bob Pulford remember a man whose steady presence helped teams believe they could be better than they were the day before. Robert Jesse Pulford was born March 31, 1936 in Newton Robinson, Ontario. He spent his early years on King Street in Weston, Ontario from 1940 to 1950, attending Memorial School and skating in the Weston Minor Hockey League. Those rinks led him to junior hockey with the Toronto Marlboros from 1953 to 1956, where he helped win 2 Memorial Cups and set the stage for a remarkable professional career. Pulford joined the Toronto Maple Leafs for the 1956-57 season and wore jersey number 20 for 14 seasons. With the Maple Leafs, he became a key part of a legendary era, helping the team capture 4 Stanley Cups in 1962, 1963, 1964, and 1967. In the 1967 Stanley Cup Finals, he scored the overtime winner in Game 3 against the Montreal Canadiens, a moment etched into hockey history. That same year, he was elected the first president of the National Hockey League Players Association, showing leadership that went beyond goals and assists. Over 1,079 NHL games, Pulford recorded 281 goals and 362 assists for 643 points and was selected as a 5-time All-Star. He set a career high with 28 goals and 56 points in 1966. Traded to the Los Angeles Kings on September 3, 1970, he played 2 seasons there before retiring in 1972. His second career began immediately. Pulford took over as head coach of the Los Angeles Kings for the 1972-73 season. Over 5 years, he helped transform the team from one of the worst to one of the best defensive clubs, guiding them to their first playoff appearance in 5 years in 1974 and earning the Jack Adams Award as NHL Coach of the Year in 1975. After leaving the Kings following the 1976-77 season, he joined the Chicago Blackhawks in 1977 as head coach and general manager. Across 3 coaching stints from 1977 to 1987, he posted 182 wins, 176 losses, and 68 ties in 426 games, and compiled a .361, .325, 136 record as an NHL coach overall. Under his management, the Blackhawks won 8 division titles and reached the playoffs in 20 consecutive seasons. He later served as senior vice president of the team in 1990 and spent 30 years in the organization in various roles. On October 11, 2007, he was named an officer with the Wirtz Corporation, concluding his day-to-day management duties. In 1976, he also served behind the bench for Team USA at the Canada Cup. In 1991, Bob Pulford was inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, recognized as a Stanley Cup champion, a Hall of Famer, a founder of the NHL Players Association, a Blackhawks franchise icon, and a Coach of the Year. His family ties to the game continued as well, with his son-in-law Dean Lombardi serving as a former general manager of the Los Angeles Kings and senior advisor to the Philadelphia Flyers. Robert Jesse Pulford died on January 5, 2026, at the age of 89, leaving behind a legacy of toughness, principle, and commitment to the sport he helped shape for generations. Tributes to Bob Pulford. Friends and colleagues say that when Simone Scott walked into a kitchen, she brought warmth, community, and opportunity with her. Born LaShonda Charisse. Simone Scott on November 28, 1976 in Detroit, Michigan, Elle grew up in a middle-class Seventh-day Adventist family. Her first job in food was humble and hands-on, working at a kosher bakery in Oak Park, Michigan, where she began to learn how food could be both work and love. Before she ever wore a chef's coat on camera, Elle spent 7 years as a social worker, committed to helping others. She studied at Eastern Michigan University and held a master's degree in entertainment business. When the 2008 recession cost her her job, home, and car, she made a brave choice. She started over. That loss became the doorway to a new life in food. Elle attended the Culinary Institute of New York in 2010 and stepped fully into the culinary world. She cooked on cruise ships for 2 years, worked as a food stylist for Cabot Creamery and The Chew, and built a career across major networks like Food Network, Bravo, and The Cooking Channel. She also worked with Norwegian Cruise Line and Union Square Hospitality Group, growing her skills behind the scenes and on set. In 2013, noticing that most of her culinary classmates were women or people of color but rarely seen in professional kitchens, Ella co-founded She Chef. This mentoring and networking organization for women chefs of color grew to over 1,000 members by November 2018 and became one of her proudest contributions to the industry. In 2016, Ella joined America's Test Kitchen as a test cook and food stylist, and made history as the first Black woman to appear as a regular host on the PBS show. She developed video content for their online cooking school, and also appeared on Cook's Country. She became a trusted, joyful guide for home cooks everywhere. Ella shared her creativity through cookbooks, authoring boards, stylish spreads for casual gatherings and food gifts, 150-plus irresistible recipes for crafting personalized presents. She created and hosted the Walk-In podcast, inviting listeners into the real, behind-the-scenes stories of culinary life. She also served on the board of Women Chefs and Restaurateurs, continuing her work to open doors for others. In 2016, Elle was diagnosed with stage 1C, grade 3 ovarian cancer. She went into remission after treatment and later faced a recurrence of the disease. Those who worked with her remember how honestly and courageously she met that challenge, still using her platform to uplift and educate. Ella Simone Scott passed away on January 5, 2026 at age 49 from ovarian cancer. She was an American chef, food stylist, culinary producer, test cook, cookbook author, and podcast host. But she was also something more. A trailblazer for representation in food media and a powerful mentor for women chefs of color. Her colleagues at America's Test Kitchen remember her vibrant spirit and her gift for creating community. Her friend Carla Hall recalls her as a force, a trailblazer who brought excellence, generosity, and deep love for food and people to everything she did. For every home cook who saw themselves reflected in Elle's presence on screen, for every young chef who found guidance through She Chef, her legacy lives on. Tributes to Elle Simone Scott. Those who worked alongside him remember a calm, thoughtful man who quietly shaped some of television's funniest moments. Thomas Harry Cherones Jr. was born on September 11, 1939 in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. From early on, he was drawn to the power of cameras and stories. He began his television career in educational television while still a student, and later worked at the public television station WQED in Pittsburgh. In 1976, he earned a master's degree in broadcast and film communication from the University of Alabama, and not long after, he moved to Hollywood in 1975 to pursue his dreams in television. Tom became best known as a gifted American television director and producer. Throughout the 1990s, he directed 81 of the 86 episodes of the first 5 seasons of Seinfeld, helping to define the look, rhythm, and charm of the series. As producer, he earned a Primetime Emmy Award, along with a Directors Guild of America Award and a Golden Globe Award. Episodes he directed, including The Chinese Restaurant, The Parking Garage, and The Contest, became classics for millions of viewers. He even appeared as a fictional director in the Seinfeld episode, The Pilot. Beyond Seinfeld, Tom directed 56 to 57 episodes of news radio and worked on series such as Ellen, Caroline in the City, Welcome Back, Cotter, My Sister Sam, and Annie Maguire. His work in broadcast television made him a respected sitcom producer and director. In recognition of his contributions, He was inducted into the University of Alabama College of Communication and Information Sciences Hall of Fame in 2001 and the Alabama Stage and Screen Hall of Fame in 2003. Tom also loved teaching and sharing what he had learned. From 2002 to 2014, he taught film production at the University of Alabama, guiding the next generation of storytellers. In 2012, he published his first novel, The Hardly Boys, a playful parody of the Hardy Boys books. In his personal life, Tom was a husband and father. His first wife, Bobby, was the mother of his children, Susan and Scott. He later married Joyce Keener, who died in 2006, and then photographer Carol E. Richards, his third wife. He divided his time between Florence, Oregon, and Taos, New Mexico. Thomas Harry Cherones Jr. died on January 5, 2026, at his home in Florence, Oregon from Alzheimer's disease, at age 86. He was survived by his third wife, Carol E. Richards, and his two adult children from his first marriage. Through laughter, craft, and the students he encouraged, Tom Cherones leaves behind a legacy that still lives on in every rerun and every aspiring filmmaker he inspired. Tributes to Tom Cherones. Those who walked through life with Robert Wolgemuth often said that his love for Jesus and for his wife Nancy seemed to brighten every room they entered together. Robert David Wolgemuth was born on February 28, 1948, and died on January 10, 2026 at age 77. He was an American author, literary agent, publisher, and speaker whose career in the publishing world stretched over more than 40 years. Robert graduated from Taylor University in 1969 with a degree in biblical literature, and in 2005 the school honored him with an honorary doctorate. His lifelong love of scripture and Christian writing shaped everything he did. As an author, Robert wrote more than 20 books. His best-known works included She Calls Me Daddy and The Most Important Place on Earth. His books sold over 2 million copies, and 5 of them received Silver Medallion Awards from the Evangelical Christian Publishers Association. He didn't just write books. He helped others share their messages too. Robert founded Wolgemuth & Associates, a literary agency that represented over 100 authors. He served 2 terms as chairman of the Evangelical Christian Publishers Association and was formerly president of Thomas Nelson Publishers. Along the way, he co-authored What's in the Bible with R.C. Sproul, hymnal collections with John F. MacArthur and Joni Eareckson Tada, and You Can Trust God to Write Your Story with his wife, Nancy DeMoss Wolgemuth. Robert's life was also deeply about family. He was the father of 2 grown daughters and the grandfather of 5 grandchildren. He was married to his first wife, Bobby, for 44 years until her death from cancer. Later, on November 14, 2015, he married Nancy Lee DeMoss. They made their home in Southwest Michigan and served together at Revive Our Hearts, a Christian media ministry. Earlier in his life, Robert also served as an elder and Sunday school teacher at First Presbyterian Church of Orlando, reflecting his ongoing commitment to the local church and to nurturing faith in others. Remembered as a Christian author, a champion of family values, and a faithful servant in the world of biblical literature and evangelical publishing, Robert Wolgemuth's influence will continue through his books, his ministry, and the many voices he helped to be heard. Tributes to Robert Wolgemuth. He once said that being a mischievous child on screen when life was simple was a wonderful experience, and those words feel like a gentle window into the heart of Sidney Henry Kibrick. Sidney Henry Kibrick was born July 2, 1928, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. When he was 5, his family moved to Los Angeles. One afternoon at Grauman's Chinese Theater, while watching a movie with his mother, a film producer spotted him in the audience. That chance discovery opened the door to 1930s Hollywood. He made his uncredited film debut in Out All Night, 1933, and by 1935 he had become a regular with Hal Roach Studios. Between 1933 and 1939, Sidney appeared in more than 24 Our Gang short subjects, part of the beloved Our Gang, or Little Rascals series. From 1937 to 1939, audiences knew him as Wom, the spirited sidekick to the neighborhood bully Butch, a role that made countless children laugh during the Great Depression. At the time, he earned $750 per week, an extraordinary sum for a young performer. Sidney's work reached beyond Our Gang. He appeared in Just Around the Corner, 1938, with Shirley Temple, as well as Jesse James, 1939, and Flight Lieutenant, 1942. His final Our Gang credit came in Time Out for Lessons, 1939. Alongside him, his brother Leonard Kubrick was also part of the Our Gang family. At age 15, Sidney chose to step away from acting. He attended the University of Southern California and built a new career as a real estate developer in Southern California. He often reflected with gratitude that he had avoided the tragic paths some child actors faced. He stayed connected to his Our Gang roots, maintaining a lifelong friendship with Spanky McFarland, organizing reunions, and later joining in centennial celebrations for the series. In 2023, he warmly remembered long days on set, with school in the morning and hours of filming, guided by director Gordon Douglas, whom he admired for bringing out the best in each child. Sidney Henry Kubrick died at a hospital in Northridge, Los Angeles, on January 26, at age 97. He was the last surviving main cast member of Our Gang. He is survived by his daughter Jane Lipsick, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and his partner. Tributes to Sidney Kubrick. Fans still smile when they remember how funny Richard Dimitri was playing the good and bad twins on When Things Were Rotten. Richard Dimitri was born June 27, 1942, in Yonkers, New York. Of Assyrian descent, he followed his passion for performance early, graduating from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in 1962. Just a year later, he made his New York stage debut in an off-Broadway revival of The Immortalist, and soon appeared on Broadway in productions including Zorba, The Guide, and Lysistrata. An American character actor, comedian, writer, and producer, Richard built a career that left viewers laughing across film, television, and the stage. In 1975, he began his screen career with Mel Brooks' television series When Things Were Rotten, playing the twin characters Bertram and Ronaldo. Many fans still remember that work as hilariously memorable, and it became one of the roles he was best known for. Over the next 2 decades, Richard appeared in approximately 20 television and film projects between 1975 and 1997. He was principally known for his role as Roman Troy Maroney in the 1984 film Johnny Dangerously, and as Tony Cheeseburger in Let It Ride in 1989, acting alongside Richard Dreyfuss. He also appeared in The World's Greatest Lover with Gene Wilder and Carol Kane. On television, Richard showed up in many familiar favorites from the 1970s through the 1990s, including Hawaii Five-0, Starsky and Hutch, and Welcome Back, Kotter. His final on-screen appearance came in a 1997 episode of Tracy Takes On. Richard's creativity extended behind the camera as well. He co-created the Fox series Daddy Dearest in 1993, wrote for Going Bananas, contributed to House Calls, and produced and wrote the pilot Roosevelt and Truman. In every role, he brought the craft of a true character actor and a deep love of comedy. In his personal life, Richard was previously married to Myra Cohen from 1972 to July 29, 1980. He later married Christiane Engs, his wife of 26 years. Richard Dimitri died December 18, 2025, in Los Angeles, California at age 83, after a decades-long battle with heart and lung illnesses. He is remembered by fans who felt he deserved to be a household name and who wish they could have seen him in even more comedies. Tributes to Richard Dimitri. People who watched her on screen and saw her in the gym often say the same thing about Jayne Trcka. She brought a bold, unforgettable energy to every room she walked into. Jayne Trcka died on December 12, 2025 at the age of 62 in San Diego. She was found unresponsive in the kitchen of her San Diego home by a friend who had been unable to reach her by phone for several days. Her death was confirmed by the San Diego medical examiner, and her son later confirmed her passing to TMZ. Jayne's journey began in Minnesota, where she grew up and excelled in gymnastics. In the early to mid-1980s, she moved to San Diego, a change that would shape the rest of her life. In 1986, she took up weight training, and by 1988 she was already competing in bodybuilding events, making a name for herself on both local and national stages. Her dedication to strength and fitness led her into professional wrestling, where she performed under the ring name KZ Kavanaugh. She was also featured in well-known fitness magazines, including Flex, Muscle Mag International, and Women's Physique World, becoming a familiar face to fans of bodybuilding and physique sports. Jayne later transitioned into acting, carrying her strength and charisma onto the screen. She became best known for her role as Miss Man, the girls' gym teacher in the 2000 horror spoof Scary Movie. That breakout performance opened the door to appearances on The Drew Carey Show and Whose Line Is It Anyway?, as well as a role in Lady Gaga's 2010 music video Telephone and the 2016 horror film The Bad Batch. Throughout all of this, Jayne kept many irons in the fire. She worked as a personal trainer, sharing her passion for fitness with others, and built a career as a California realtor, proving she could succeed in many different worlds. From Minnesota gyms to San Diego soundstages, Jayne Trcka lived a life of effort, experimentation, and courage. Her work in bodybuilding, wrestling, and entertainment leaves behind a unique and memorable legacy. Tributes to Jayne Trcka. Those who worked alongside Joel Habener remember him as a towering figure in endocrinology, yet always a humble and generous colleague. Joel Habener was a physician scientist and endocrinologist, a professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, and for decades the director of the Laboratory of Molecular Endocrinology at Mass General. He passed away at the age of 88. Beginning in the 1970s and 1980s, Joel devoted his career to understanding the biology of the glucagon gene and its peptide products. In that work, and in close collaboration with Svetlana Moisov and Daniel Drucker, he helped identify and characterize the glucagon-like peptides GLP-1 and GLP-2. In 1987, GLP-1 was discovered, a milestone that would reshape modern medicine. These discoveries changed how scientists understood insulin secretion, appetite control, nutrient metabolism, gastric emptying, and gastrointestinal physiology. Joel and his colleagues then took a crucial next step. They showed that boosting GLP-1 could be used to treat type 2 diabetes. That insight laid the scientific foundation for GLP-1-based therapies that now help millions of people manage diabetes, lose weight, and reduce serious cardiovascular events. His work moved from basic science all the way to approved medicines. In 2005, the first GLP-1 medicine for type 2 diabetes was cleared by the FDA, built on the science he helped pioneer. Years later, in December 2025, the first once-daily Wegovy pill, an oral GLP-1, was also cleared, another chapter in the story he helped begin. Around the world, Joel's contributions were recognized with major honors, including the 2019 Harold Hamm Award, the 2021 Gairdner Award, the 2024 Lasker DeBakey Clinical Medical Research Award, and the 2025 Breakthrough Prize in Life Sciences. Many saw him as a likely contender for the Nobel Prize. Yet those who knew him speak just as strongly about his character. Joel was a devoted mentor, guiding numerous trainees in endocrinology, metabolism, and molecular medicine. He gave back as a philanthropic supporter, creating an additional slot in the MGH Endocrine Fellowship and supporting the John T. Potts Jr. Pilot Award program in the endocrine division. Colleagues describe him as an exemplary researcher, a genial collaborator, and a dedicated teacher whose vision and kindness shaped an entire community. His discoveries will keep saving and improving lives for years to come, and his influence will continue to grow each time a patient benefits from GLP-1 therapy. Tributes to Joel Habener. Those who worked beside her say that when Radha Subramaniam believed in a story, her passion for it could fill an entire room. Radha Subramaniam, a pioneering Indian-American media research and analytics executive, passed away on January 5, 2026, at the age of 55 after a battle with cancer. She is survived by her husband Joseph and their children, Tara and River. Radha's journey began in New Delhi, where she was born and raised before moving to the United States to attend Northwestern University. There she earned her doctorate in radio, television, and film, building the foundation for a career that would bridge traditional and digital media in thoughtful, innovative ways. Before entering the corporate world, Radha shared her knowledge in the classroom, teaching at Vassar College and New York University. She then moved into media research, taking on senior roles at Nielsen, Yahoo, MTV Networks, and iHeartMedia. At iHeartMedia, as president of Insights, Research and Data Analytics, she led wide-ranging research across digital and traditional radio platforms, guiding efforts in ratings measurement, digital analytics, and marketing research. In November 2017, Radha joined CBS as Executive Vice President and Chief Research and Analytics Officer, and in 2020, she was promoted to Chief Research and Analytics Officer. At CBS, she oversaw all research and analytics operations for the television network, including audience measurement, program analytics, marketing research, and advertising analytics. Colleagues remember how she could turn complex numbers into clear, strategic insights that helped shape programming and company decisions. One leader at Paramount called her a true force of nature who championed CBS and believed deeply in the power of storytelling. Throughout her career, Radha was recognized as an analytics pioneer. She was honored among the National Women's Conference's top women in business, the Tri-State Diversity Council's top women leaders of New York, Corinium's top innovators in data and analytics, and received the 2023 International Women's Day Award at the Consulate General of India. She became a role model for women in business, and for anyone who wanted to use data not just to count audiences, but to understand them. Radha Subramaniam's legacy lives on in the systems she helped build, the stories she helped reach their audiences, and the family she loved. Tributes to Radha Subramaniam. We mourn the passing of John Corks, a beloved actor, teacher, and friend whose quiet dedication shaped generations of storytellers. John Corks was born on December 4, 1945, in New York City, and the city remained the backdrop for a life spent in the arts. His journey as an actor began in 1968, when he started as a reader in auditions for Jules Feiffer's off-Broadway production of Little Murders. Director Alan Arkin saw something special in him and cast him as Kenny, a role John would later reprise in the film version. From that early break, John built a career that stretched over 5 decades in film, television, and theater. On the big screen, audiences saw him in Catch-22, The Front Page, The Day of the Dolphin, Riding in Cars with Boys, and The Double. On television, he became familiar to many as Officer Tom Robinson on HBO's Oz, and he appeared on shows including All in the Family, Maude, The Mary Tyler Moore Show, The Larry Sanders Show, Homicide, and Law & Order. John was not only a working actor, he was a committed mentor and scene study teacher. From 2008 until November 2025, he taught at the Stella Adler Studio of Acting in New York. Colleagues there remembered how he met each student exactly where they were, bringing his experience from stage and screen into every classroom. Former students spoke of his wisdom, his kindness, and the way he pushed them while trusting them with challenging parts. Outside the classroom and set, John shared his craft in more intimate ways, giving private acting lessons in Greenwich Village. He was also known as an avid Boston Celtics fan, a small but telling detail that hints at his passions beyond the work. John Corks died on December 31, 2025 in New York at age 80. His passing was marked by heartfelt messages from friends, fellow artists, and students who remembered a gifted character actor, a generous mentor, and a steady presence in their creative lives. Through his roles, his teaching, and his 5-decade career, John Corks leaves behind a living legacy in the performances and voices of those he guided. Tributes to John Corks. What's trending on the internet? If you grew up with Nickelodeon in the 90s and early 2000s, this story might feel a little bit like saying goodbye to a part of your childhood. Emmy-nominated composer Guy Moon, the musical mind behind shows like The Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom, has died following a car crash in North Dakota. He was 61 years old. The accident happened near his hometown of Bismarck. And while the details are heartbreaking, today many fans and colleagues are choosing to focus on the joy his music brought into their lives. Guy Moon wasn't a household name, but his melodies absolutely were. He helped shape the sound of kids' TV for an entire generation, writing the playful, energetic themes and background scores that made animated worlds feel alive. From whimsical magic to spooky superhero adventures, his music quietly set the tone for after-school laughs and weekend cartoon marathons. Over the years, his work earned him multiple Emmy nominations and the deep respect of fellow composers, animators, and producers. Friends have described him as kind, humble, and deeply dedicated to his craft, often working behind the scenes to make sure every scene had just the right musical heartbeat. For many people online, news of his passing has sparked a wave of nostalgia. Viewers are sharing clips of their favorite Nickelodeon moments, remembering exactly where they were when they first heard those unforgettable themes, and realizing how much his music became the soundtrack of their childhoods and their children's childhoods. Even though Guy Moon is no longer with us, his work continues to play in living rooms and streaming queues all over the world. Every time someone smiles at a silly cartoon gag or hums along to a familiar intro, a little piece of his creative spirit lives on. He will be remembered not just as an award-nominated composer, but as an artist who filled countless homes with warmth, fun, and imagination. And for generations of families, that is a legacy that will keep on playing. News 2. If you've spent any time listening to Latin music over the past few years, there's a good chance you've heard the powerful voice of Colombian singer Jayne Trcka. Jayne Jimenez, just 34 years old, has sadly passed away after a plane crash in Colombia. Reports say the small aircraft went down near a rural area, and while details of the accident are still being worked out by authorities, what so many people are focusing on right now is the music, the spirit, and the story he leaves behind. Jayne was born in Manzanares, Colombia, and grew up working hard from a young age. Before fame, he sold fruit at a local market, and later told fans that those humble beginnings were a big part of why he never took success for granted. His journey from market stalls to major stages made him a symbol of perseverance for many people across Latin America and beyond. Over the past decade, he became one of the most recognizable voices in Colombian popular music, especially in the regional and ranchera styles. His songs about love, heartbreak, and everyday life connected deeply with working families, young listeners, and older generations alike. For many fans, his music was the soundtrack to family gatherings, barbecues, and quiet moments at home. Friends, fellow artists, and fans have been filling social media with messages of love and remembrance, sharing concert clips, favorite lyrics, and stories of meeting him in person. Many describe him as warm, humble, and generous with his time, always willing to take a photo, say hello, or offer a word of encouragement. In times like this, it can feel especially hard to lose someone so young and so full of life. But for many people, Jayne Jimenez will continue to live on through the songs he left behind, the records that play on long drives, the music that drifts through family kitchens, and the melodies that bring back memories of better days. As fans around the world press play on his music tonight, they're not just mourning, they're celebrating a remarkable journey from small-town dreams to international stages. And that may be the most powerful tribute of all, knowing that Jayne Jimenez will be remembered for his voice, his hard work, and the hope he gave to so many people who saw their own stories in his. News 3. You know, some stories in the news really make you want to pause, take a breath, and hug your family a little tighter, and this is one of them. Singer and talk show host Kelly Clarkson is sharing a rare and very heartfelt update about her two children, 10-year-old daughter River and 8-year-old son Remington, as they continue to heal after the recent passing of their father, Brandon Blackstock. Kelly has always tried to keep her kids' lives as private and normal as possible, but in a recent conversation, she gently opened up about how they're doing. She explained that, like many children who lose a parent, they're going through a mix of emotions, asking tender questions, and slowly finding their own way through grief. She shared that each child is processing this loss differently. One leans into talking and asking questions, while the other tends to hold feelings a bit closer. Kelly said she's letting them move at their own pace, while making sure they always know they're safe, loved, and allowed to feel whatever they feel. What's especially touching is how focused she is on creating a sense of stability. Between her busy schedule as a performer and television host, Kelly is making it clear that home is a soft place to land for her kids. She's talked about being present, listening more than she talks, and giving them extra time together, whether that's simple family routines or quiet moments just to check in. Kelly also reflected on how important it is to keep their father's memory alive in a gentle, positive way. That might mean sharing a story, laughing about a favorite memory, or honoring small traditions that remind the kids of their dad. It's a loving approach many families can relate to when they've lost someone special. Even in the middle of her own grief, Kelly is turning this difficult chapter into an opportunity to teach her children about resilience, compassion, and the power of talking openly about feelings. She knows that healing isn't quick, especially for young hearts, but she believes that with love, patience, and support, they'll continue to grow stronger. As time goes on, Kelly, River, and Remington will carry Brandon's place in their lives in a quieter but enduring way. They'll remember the moments they shared, the love they felt, and the parts of him they see in themselves. And that, in many ways, is how his presence will continue to be honored. Through the kindness they show, the memories they treasure, and the close bond they keep as a family. News 4. You know, every so often a story comes along that reminds us how precious and fragile life really is, and it asks us to slow down and remember the people behind the headlines. This week, many reality TV fans are mourning the loss of Kyle Chrisley, a former cast member from the show Chrisley Knows Best. Kyle, who was just 25 years old, was found near his car on a beach in South Carolina, about a week after he was reported missing. Authorities say there were no obvious signs of foul play, and his passing is being handled with great care and respect. For many viewers, Kyle wasn't just a face on television. He was the son, the brother, the relative who sometimes struggled, sometimes stumbled, but kept trying to move forward. Fans watched him grow up, work through personal challenges, and share pieces of his life with the world. In that way, he represented something very real, the idea that family, even with its ups and downs, matters deeply. Law enforcement and local officials have been respectful and measured in what they've shared, and his family has asked for privacy as they process this heartbreaking loss. Around the country, people who followed the Chrysley family over the years are sending kind words, prayers, and warm memories, choosing to focus on Kyle's better days, his laughter, and the love he had around him. Moments like this can encourage the rest of us to check in on the people we care about, offer a kind word, and remember that everyone is fighting their own battles, often quietly. If there's a gentle message in this sad news, it might be to hold your loved ones a little closer, listen a little longer, and lead with a bit more patience and compassion. Kyle Chrysley will be remembered by family, friends, and fans for his place in a well-known American family story, for his efforts to keep going through life's challenges, and for the reminder that every life has value and meaning. As people share their favorite memories and kind thoughts, his legacy becomes one of empathy, understanding, and the hope that we can all treat one another with just a little more care. News 5. You know, some love stories don't end, they just find new ways to shine. And that's exactly what's touching hearts online right now. Supermodel and beauty icon Iman, now 68, is honoring her late husband, music legend David Bowie, in a deeply personal and beautiful way on the 10th anniversary of his passing. Iman and Bowie were married for more than 2 decades, and by all accounts, they shared a warm, grounded, and devoted partnership away from the spotlight. To mark this emotional milestone, Iman decided to get a new tattoo in his memory. She chose a delicate design of a crescent moon on the inside of her wrist, a symbol that has a special connection to their relationship and to Bowie's artistic, otherworldly spirit. She shared a photo of the tattoo on social media, and the image has quickly spread across the internet, with fans commenting on how touching and meaningful it is. Iman has spoken in the past about how Bowie will always be her husband, even after his passing in 2016 at the age of 69. She said that their love is eternal, and you can feel that in this small but powerful tribute. Instead of focusing on sadness, she's chosen a symbol of light, memory, and continuity, something she can see every day, close at hand, as a quiet reminder of the man she loved. For many people, especially those who grew up with Bowie's music and followed Iman's remarkable career, this moment feels both nostalgic and comforting. It's a reminder that great artists leave behind more than songs and images. They leave love, family, and stories that continue to inspire. Iman's tattoo is more than ink on skin. It's a gentle message about how we carry the people we love forward in our lives. As fans around the world pause to remember David Bowie, this simple crescent moon will stand as a graceful symbol of a lasting bond, and of a love story that continues to be celebrated year after year. It is with a heavy heart, Brett's husband Stephen shared, that we said goodbye to the most amazing man, husband and papa in the universe, words that capture how deeply Brett McCole Hannah Shuford was loved. Brett was born on May 20, 1979 in Texas, and from early on he followed a path that led straight to the stage. After graduating from Wagner College's theater program, he fulfilled a dream that many only imagine, launching a Broadway career in the early 2000s that would span 2 decades. An American Broadway performer, actor, life coach, creative director, and social media influencer, Brett appeared in 6 Broadway productions, including Beauty and the Beast, Wicked, The Little Mermaid, Amazing Grace, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Cirque du Soleil's Paramour. He also took on the role of Mr. Banks in Mary Poppins, and performed in regional theaters such as Theater Under the Stars Houston, Paper Mill Playhouse, A Solo Rep, Alabama Shakespeare, and with major symphonies including those in Indianapolis, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Fort Worth. He brought his talents to Disney Cruise Line and appeared on television in All My Children, Guiding Light, As the World Turns, Law & Order, Special Victims Unit, and in the film The Wolf of Wall Street. In 2007, Broadway gave Brett something even more precious than a role. It introduced him to dancer Stephen Hanna, a principal at New York City Ballet. They married in 2011 and in 2022 welcomed their son Maverick via surrogate. Together, Brett and Stephen created Broadway Husbands, a platform that openly shared their journey as a sober gay couple, as parents, and as LGBTQ+ advocates. Their YouTube channel, Instagram, and podcast reached millions, offering visibility, encouragement, and hope to families around the world. A lifelong Disney fan, Brett relocated with his family to Orlando, Florida, in 2025 to pursue a master's in architectural studies with a concentration in themed environments integration at the University of Florida City Lab, hoping to become a Disney Imagineer. Even while studying, he continued performing, coaching, and supporting benefit concerts, including work with the Entertainment Community Fund and productions such as On the 20th Century, A Wonderful Life, and The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. In August 2025, Brett was diagnosed with hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, HLH, and peripheral T-cell lymphoma, PTCL, rare and aggressive conditions. He underwent intensive chemotherapy and still found the strength to stay connected with the community that loved him, sharing updates and encouragement online. Brett died peacefully on January 3, 2026, at the age of 46, surrounded by family in Winter Garden, Florida. He is survived by his husband Stephen, their son Maverick, his parents Preston and Deanna, and his brothers Todd, Eric, and Bart. His love of theater and family will live on, including through his children's book Good Night, Break a Leg, scheduled for publication in summer 2026. To the Broadway community, the LGBTQ+ community, Disney fans, and the many people he inspired as a performer, influencer, and family man, Brett Hanna Shuford leaves a shining, generous legacy of courage, creativity, and love. Tributes to Brett Hanna Shuford. Those who worked alongside Candy Raymond often spoke of her talent, courage, and the thoughtful way she approached every role she was given,